This oil pastel varnish, I had a chat with Talens because it doesn't really tell you anything. It tells you it's varnish for oil pastels on the front of the bottle, and that's really all it says. It tells you the size and then it's an oil pastel varnish. Apart from that, it doesn't really tell you anything. So I needed to get in touch with Talens because somewhere I had read that it can be diluted. So because there's nothing on there, I needed to know the dilution rate. Now, I think, if my memory serves right, that the dilution rate on the website could have been 50-50. I really cannot remember. However, when I went to Talens, they couldn't actually answer me, which I was absolutely gobsmacked about. However, they did come back, and despite what it says on the website, they came back to me and said, oh, we now recommend it doesn't be diluted or doesn't get diluted, which I thought was rather odd. They did leave the website as it is. I don't know if it's still like that and says you can dilute it but doesn't give you the dilution rate, but their official line was don't dilute it. Now, somewhere along the line, somebody has said you can. So, me being me, I investigate quite a lot of things with art, so you'll get to know that. I investigated this and I thought, well, somebody has said it can be diluted, so I'm going to test it. So I have numerous bottles of this, and here's basically an old one. So what I had done was I used half of this and then I put 50-50 mix with water. 50-50 will work for you. It will definitely work for you, but it's quite hard to handle because it is so dilute and so fluid. But it will work and it will give you a thin layer. So what I have come to the conclusion of is that I use one thin layer to save myself a few extra pounds, and then I put a thick layer over the top. And that's more than plenty to varnish your oil pastel painting with. If you do it in the impasto effect, then you're going to need a little bit more. So as I said, it's quite difficult to use at a 50-50 dilution rate. So I'm going to say, and you can take this as you like with a pinch of salt, I'm going to say probably for most people a dilution rate of 30% water to 70% varnish would be quite good, and that would give you quite a good protective coating, and then when you're ready, put the proper varnish on the top. You have to let it dry for an hour. That doesn't seem quite long enough for me, so I let it dry overnight. I think 24 hours gives it a harder shell once it is dried. Now, the effect you get from this is something that looks akin to satin looking photograph in the effect it gives you, not in your painting obviously, but in the effect it gives you, because they are thin layers, it gives you this nice uniform thin layer that looks like a semi-satin photograph look. If you've ever used the Sennelier spray-on oil pastel varnish, or fixative they sometimes call it, you'll find that it's not that easy to control the amount that you get onto the paper. I mean, you spray it across, but some people are naturally more heavy-handed than others, and that, you know, can lead to a very ununiformed look, and it can also give you a thick, almost plastic look to it. I'm not going to say it's not good, because it is. It's equally as good as this Talens, but my preferred method is the Talens because of the look it gives you and the protection it gives you. Both can be susceptible to scratching, and one gives you this nice satin look, the other one gives you like a satin but plasticky look, and that's the Sennelier. The Talens, if you were to use it neat out of the jar, will be more expensive. There's no doubt about that. But if you dilute it, you can get much, much more out of it. I've done 3 or 4, possibly 5 pictures now, and I'm at the point where I'm just about using a jar up. So you could get 4 or 5 pictures out of it, but you need to use it properly. I use one of these measuring spoons that my wife has in the kitchen. Don't tell her. But I use one of these measuring spoons, and I measure out, I think, 50 millilitres possibly, and then I add 50 millilitres water to it. And I use that, mix it all together very thoroughly, and I use that and I spread it over the painting. The tuition on how to use it and apply it more than anything will be coming very soon. I prefer it to Sennelier, but Sennelier is really good as well, and I'll do another video on that at another time. So the way to apply it, you can apply it with a brush. I've seen most people apply it with a brush, not many, because not many people seem to use it, but I have seen most that do use it use a brush. I don't like that personally. That's just my personal preference. I don't particularly want to see all the brush marks afterwards. I do my oil pastel paintings in such a way that they're quite refined and quite fine up. So what I use is I use these foam brushes, which come in different sizes. Obviously, the bigger the picture, the bigger the foam brush you're going to use. The one that I use mainly for my 30 by 40 centimetre pictures is this probably 2-inch one. And I spread it, and it gives me this lovely uniformed look, and then I put a pure coating on afterwards, and that's more than enough. It does everything you need it to do. It would be best in almost all circumstances to leave your picture for probably a week before you do anything to it. What that does, it gives the oil pastel a little time to cure, because it never fully dries, as you know, but it gives the top shell a little bit of time to cure, and that will in turn help when you apply this with the foam brush, because if you apply it too soon, what you will find is the oil pastel may not, but could move, and then you're going to dirty up. Say you use black, you're going to dirty up outside of where that black should be, and it's going to spread over. It's not going to be barely noticeable, but it can. So best to let it stand for a week to cure before you start applying this with either a brush or a foam brush. Foam brush, again, in particular, is good for that particular technique because it's not likely to spread the oil pastel so much as a brush would. The other thing you need to look out for before you come to apply varnish with this, and Sennelier for that matter, you need to look for dust and hairs that may have settled on your painting in that week, or even almost immediately, because you're going to have to lay this down flat and you don't know what's in the air, and you put the varnish on, and it isn't until you put that varnish on you are going to highlight any hairs or bits of dust or bits of fluff that may be settling on that picture. So if you do that and you spread it on, you just have to pick them out quite quickly and then re-varnish over or re-spread it over with a foam brush. But you really do need to look out for bits of fluff and dust. To that end, I always cover mine with greaseproof. I use that and I cover my pictures over. It can be reused, and I just put that over the top of the picture until such times I'm ready to varnish it, which will be a week later, and then I'll use the Talens on top, a dilute and then a thick undiluted layer. So this Royal Talens, which is here, all in all, this is a brilliant product. I'm a little bit disappointed with the customer service and the product information, but all in all, it is a brilliant product. It is by far my preferred method of varnishing my oil pastels. It will give you all the protection you need. and it will give you the look that you probably desire. I would fully recommend this, and my last 5 at least oil pastel paintings have been done with this. I actually use the Sennelier sometimes, but not so much nowadays, because I do prefer this. It is much, in my opinion, much better. So to recap on all that, do your painting. For your first layer, this is what I do. You don't have to. I use a 50-50 dilute mix, but I think a 30-70 dilute mix would be better for most people. I then use a solid layer on top. This is after having left it for a week. In that week, cover your oil pastel over with some greaseproof so that it doesn't get any fluff and hairs on it. And even when you are putting your layers of varnish on, look out for the fluff and hairs, because you will see them appear. If you were to spray on with Sennelier, it would be a lot more difficult to see them and a lot more difficult to actually get them off. So I hope that's worth your time. You've got an idea of what the pastel varnish is all about. In the future, not too long away, I will definitely show you a demo on how I do this. There is a good way and there is a bad way, and I will show you the good way, in my opinion. So that's all I've got to say for today. So whomever, wherever you are, please have a great day, a great week and a great year, and please look after yourselves. Bye for now.